Hey, how's your backlog right now? I know that's a question you're always getting asked and you're always thinking about, and so you should. And today, my guest is Kathe Barrington, back again with her wisdom and expertise when it comes to accurate financial reporting. And we're going to dive deep into everything backlog, what counts as backlog and what doesn't, why unstarted jobs that you've contracted belong on your WIP the day you've committed, how to forecast labor, equipment, and cash against your backlog, the diversification question. If you've only got one type of client and one type of project, you may have too many eggs in one basket. What happens when backlog grows but gross profit compresses? And who needs to be in the room for the monthly backlog review? Everything backlog with Kathe right now on Construction Genius. This is Eric Anderton, and you're listening to Construction Genius, a leadership masterclass. Thomas Edison said that genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. If you're a construction leader, you know all about the perspiration, and this show is all about the 1% inspiration that you can add to your hard work to help you to improve your leadership. Kathe, welcome back to Construction Genius.
Excited to be here.
All right. Let's dive right in. Today's topic is going to be backlog. It's awesome. So let's just be very straightforward. I know everyone probably knows the answer to the first part of this question, but what is backlog and how should it be calculated properly?
So the backlog is essentially how much work is left on the books. And as long as you're keeping up your job schedule with your WIP, then it's generally automatically calculated. And it's just the remaining contract amount, the remaining estimated costs, and the remaining gross profit to complete.
Okay. Little detail here. Should letters of intent or verbal awards count to your backlog?
I don't add those generally, no.
Okay. Excellent. Why do unstarted jobs need to appear on your WIP?
So if they are committed to, and not just a verbal, then you should add them to your WIP schedule because bank and bonding want to see them for sure, but you need to see them to be able to plan properly for the future.
So would you say that the folks you work with, is that standard operating procedure when you begin to work with them, or sometimes do they only have active jobs? Do unstarted jobs not get onto the WIP?
I think that's one of my bigger challenges on a continual basis is having jobs not be added. So that's definitely something that's continuous work in progress on trying to make sure that everybody understands how important it is to add a job as soon as you have the commitment.
Okay, so give us just a little bit more on that. What is the logic behind it, and how do you communicate that logic to your clients?
The typical answer I get is, well, there's no activity on it and it hasn't started yet.
Okay. And so, but you push back against that. And again, just restate again why you push back against that.
Mainly because I'm looking at that very closely for a variety of reasons that we'll get into. But the people who are reading your financial statements that are getting those, typically bank and bonding, and whatever other situations you have to send those out for, they're looking at that from a future planning perspective.
Okay. So how does backlog forecasting impact manpower and resource planning?
So the WIP just gives you a snapshot of just summarized how much this future activity is. Where you need to actually take it a step forward is to actually plan out by month when the jobs are supposed to be completed and how long they're going to take, so you can properly plan for cash flow, for the amount of employees you have, for the amount of equipment you have or need. All of those things are part of the future planning that are dependent on you having your backlog properly stated.
Excellent. And so how far out should you be forecasting labor needs?
I mean, I would say at least 6 months to a year.
Okay.
Minimum.
Yeah. Okay, excellent. What is the ideal backlog to revenue ratio for stability?
I like to see at least, as much as a year in advance if possible. If I only see 3 to 6 months, it makes me very, very nervous. So I like to see at least kind of a year of that nut you need to crack. I want to see a good amount.
Excellent. And so does that vary at all by trade or by market or location or anything like that?
Yes, absolutely. You've got, general contractors that are doing projects that could span 3 years, depending on what kind of construction they're doing. So theirs typically has a smaller amount of jobs in the backlog, but they're pretty big. Whereas subcontractors that have high turn, you might not see as much backlog. It might be a ton of jobs, but the activity is moving so quickly that it's rotating a lot faster.
Okay. So how do backlog trends reveal upcoming cash flow challenges?
So it definitely, you want to make sure the timing of those jobs is spelled out. So when you start looking at your backlog analysis, you really want to start taking it kind of a few months in advance to make sure you don't have all your backlog jobs being completed at the same time and you have them actually span out over the course of time.
How do you counsel your clients with regards to that in terms of balancing their need to have a sort of good flow of work or so a rational flow of work, a steady flow of work with the demands of their clients in terms of, hey, I want this built now?
That's a good one. I mean, looking at your information on a monthly basis to see what you need to do and what jobs you can, put a little bit more aggressive billing towards and that sort of thing to make sure you don't have the cash flow issues is so important. So it's constantly looking at things and just making sure that you know where things are at is really important on that.
Think about the last time you promoted someone into a leadership role and it failed. Why did it fail? I can tell you one reason. People know how to build projects, but they don't know how to build and lead teams of people. Construction comes with its challenges that only insiders truly understand. Generic leadership training doesn't cut it. You need a program to train your leaders built specifically for construction professionals led by an industry expert. And my online course, The Shift, is exactly that course. It has 5 modules. It'll teach your people how to control their calendars and reduce stress and embrace chaos and accomplish their critical tasks. It will teach them the 3 essential messages they have to communicate every day in order to motivate and lead their team effectively. It'll show them how to build and lead a high-performing team, give them a framework for running effective meetings so they'll be able to solve problems in less than an hour, and also give them a higher perspective on their leadership that will enable them to work on the business and on their teams and not get stuck in the weeds micromanaging. So go out to my website, theshift.constructiongenius.com, read all about the course, and then enroll yourself and your leaders in the course, and I guarantee that it will transform your leadership. If it does not, you take the whole course and you didn't get benefit from it, you just send me an email, eric@constructiongenius.com, and I will cheerfully refund you 100% of your money. I'm really confident this course will transform your leadership. So again, go out to the website, theshift.constructiongenius.com, learn more about the course, and start taking it today.
So what are the biggest mistakes companies make when they're chasing backlog? I mean, maybe they start working with you and they've got 9 months of backlog or 6 months or, heaven forbid, 3 months. What are those mistakes they make?
I don't see a lot of chasing of backlog, really, to be honest with you. I think that's maybe one of the issues is not planning ahead enough and making sure you have things lined up, or making sure you're looking at jobs that get pushed out, so you're adding to your backlog because something got pushed out. When you're looking at your backlog number in aggregate, it can look great. But if all those jobs are starting in 9 months and you're wrapping up your other jobs, then you have actually a very big void for the next 9 months.
Yeah, that's interesting. That could lead to some mistakes, not necessarily chasing backlog, but chasing the fill-in work right there, huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Scheduling.
Yeah. Yeah, so you've got to maintain discipline there. How can backlog analysis guide bid strategy and pricing discipline?
Well, if you're trying to grow and expand and you need to have a certain gross profit number, as your backlog gets bigger, then what we kind of talked about last time is your G&A percentage can go down
Yeah.
as your revenue goes up, correct? And so if you're looking at your backlog numbers and you have good backlog and you're really timing it out properly, then you can squeeze those margins a little bit tighter.
Yep. Yep. It's interesting. When your clients have a healthy backlog, do they start raising their prices, or what do they do in that situation?
I don't know about that as much as maybe becoming a little bit more particular with the companies they're working with, the jobs they're taking on, and that sort of thing. If you have a healthy backlog, then you can definitely be a lot more picky.
In your experience, I'm sure you've been in situations where your clients have had to say no to people. As you've observed your clients negotiating that with prospective clients or even people that they have a relationship with, how do they say no graciously without damaging that relationship? What have you seen?
I haven't seen a ton of that right now. So, I mean, that is a really good spot to be in. It's pretty rare situation, I think, in the, kind of, if you're wanting to grow and you're wanting to expand, then chances are high you're probably taking on that work. Where it really shifts is deciding the customers you don't want to work with anymore.
Yeah, it's interesting. So what's the relationship between backlog, mix, and profitability?
So you want your backlog to increase and have your profitability stay somewhat consistent. Unless you've got economic issues where you have to tighten up those margins, you want to stay consistent. Where you want to be really careful of is having your backlog keep growing, and your gross profits keep getting compressed. And now you're running into a situation where you're growing and scaling and you're bigger than you have been before, but your margins are compressed. And if you have then fade or anything happens on those jobs, it can turn ugly quickly.
Yeah, it's interesting. What happens when one client or a project type dominates the backlog?
I mean, it's just like having one egg in your basket. It can break and then you have a mess on your hands. So diversification is always a great thing. And if you're in a certain particular line of business, then the customer diversification is important. I mean, that's why they put the notes and disclosures in your financials of concentration of customers. So you want to diversify as much as you possibly can.
Do you have any particular opinion on how you measure that diversity? Do you counsel your clients in terms of the proportion of work they do with a particular client or a particular job type?
Not unless it becomes an issue.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's definitely some of the things we talk about, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on and make sure that if there's a sign of something shifting, then you're aware of it.
Okay. How often do you think leadership should be reviewing backlog data?
Monthly with the financials.
Monthly with the financials. So is that in the same meeting when the financials takes place, we're going to do the backlog as well?
Yeah, because when you have your project manager meeting, that's when you generally are talking about your jobs, and you should be talking about your backlog as well.
Yep. Okay, so who needs to be in the room for those reviews, would you say?
Definitely the project managers, the owner, depending on how involved the owner is. I don't know if he's delegating some of that work. And then project engineers and your accounting staff that's in charge of the contract stuff.
Excellent. And so as you're in that meeting, obviously you have the numbers and you're talking about the numbers, but what questions should drive the conversation beyond the numbers?
The timing. So the scheduling aspect for sure. Any delays on jobs, any jobs that actually get pushed up, that happens as well. Things get moving along faster and all of a sudden you thought you were starting in 2 weeks and you're starting in one. You know, all those little factors make a difference. So you should be talking about all facets of the job and any changes that you know of.
All right, quick break to talk about my book, Construction Genius. This is what I want you to do. Go to Amazon, search for the book, read all of the 5-star reviews, because there's a ton of them. Over 50 to be precise. And the reason I want you to read them is because real people wrote those reviews who've actually read the book. And it'll give you an idea of why you should go and buy a copy right now on Amazon. And here's the deal. If you purchase 10 or more copies for your company, and then send me an email, eric@constructiongenius.com, I'll come in via Zoom and do a 1-hour Q&A and a bonus training session with your team at no charge. I normally charge $4,500 for an hour of my time. And again, for you, I'll do it at no charge if you buy 10 or more copies of my book. And the reason you should buy it is all in the title. It's effective, hands-on, practical, simple, no BS, leadership, strategy, sales, and marketing advice for construction companies. So if you're in the construction industry, this book is for you. So you can get it on Amazon. You can also get it on Audible in the audio version as well, narrated by yours truly. And I know you'll really enjoy it. So go out and get the book. And now back to the interview.
When uncertainty hits, how can a healthy backlog help you make confident strategic decisions?
In what terms?
Well, how can you use backlog data when the market shifts mid-year, let's say?
When the market shifts, one, making sure that none of those jobs get pushed out, COVID is an anomaly, hopefully. But you have jobs that just stop and halt. And, if you do a lot of government work and there's budget issues, then those jobs could literally stop. So just, again, assessing when the timing of it is going to happen, where your backlog actually is. If all jobs got pushed out by 6 months, do you have enough backlog to get you through to that point? So constant assessment of what your backlog is also telling you.
It's so interesting because I know working with some of my clients, they specialize in a particular type of work. And then when the money dries up, the type of work that's out there it's the same type of work, but finding the work and bidding on it is a completely different approach because it goes from a sort of a hard bid environment to a negotiated environment. And so I think it's interesting for people who are listening to this, when you're considering your backlog, which eggs in which basket do you have? And is there a need for you to think long-term about adapting the way, not only the types of projects that you bid, but also the way that you bid on them, whether it's hard bid or negotiated, because that can have an impact on your ability to maintain a healthy backlog over time.
Yeah. And I saw a lot of that in the 2008 financial crisis.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Lots of shifts have to happen. Yeah.
Okay, so let's just say you're going in first time to work with a client and you're taking a look at their books. Just give us the top 3 questions that you're asking someone about the backlog here as we're wrapping up, just so that people can have a clear picture of what they should be looking for.
The first thing is kind of figuring out what their process is in adding things to the books, making sure that things aren't off the books in a sense. And yes, there's, backlog that's just not reported somewhere. And again, a lot of what I see is, it doesn't get added till there's a cost on the job. Well, yeah, but you could have gotten the job 2 months ago. If nobody knows about it until 2 months later, because that's when the first labor hour was incurred, then you've literally got 2 months that you haven't had eyes on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Excellent. What else do we need to say about backlog that we've missed, just as we're wrapping up here, Kathe?
It's a huge thing to look at, and making sure you're diving in to the detail that's needed. And I don't feel like that's done enough. It's kind of a afterthought or something of hey, backlog looks great, but backlog should be a planning tool that's used and looked at constantly.
Yep. So what I'm taking away here is, number one, obviously the visibility part, making sure that you have jobs that you've got committed to on your WIP report. Then thinking through the timing issues as it relates to labor and other needs that you have in order to execute that work well as making sure your cash flow is consistent. And then finally, this idea of diversity, and that's going to differ for each contractor depending on the type of work they're doing and the geographic location. But whatever the case is, some level of diversity is necessary in your backlog in order to ensure a healthy future. Am I hearing those things correctly?
Absolutely. And taking it kind of to that next level of our next podcast is bank and bonding is looking at this as well, because if you know that you're going to need a bigger line of credit or some things from bank and bonding in the future, you want to make sure that those numbers are on there, because at least for me, like I said, it kind of gives me comfort knowing that, hey, yeah, you have a year's worth of work kind of planned out and that sort of thing. I'm not going to worry about you. But if I see that, your G&A is 2 million for the year and your gross profit backlog right now is 100K, I'm going to freak out a little bit.
Yeah, no, that's really great.
You
That's
know what
really
I
great.
mean? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, awesome. So the next episode we're going to hit is on bank and bonding. You're going to want to catch that when it comes out. Of course, this is
And the tax guy.
Yeah. No, it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah.
And then we have those other episodes that we've done on the WHIP report, and just really good feedback I've been getting, Kathe. So I appreciate you coming on. Tell us again, for those who are listening to this series for the first time, a little bit about yourself and how folks can get in contact with you.
Okay. I've been doing accounting for 30 plus years, doing this for about 20. And yeah, LinkedIn, Kathe Barrington, KBCPA. You can definitely find me on LinkedIn. That's a great spot to hit me up. Facebook as well. But yeah, I basically help contractors that don't have a full-time CFO or strong controller that need all of this kind of assistance. And I do stuff kind of by the hour with a full team of people that help me on my side. So if you don't need a full-time person, but you need this, then I'm the person.
Excellent. And are you both general contractor and specialty contractor? Do you work with both types?
Yeah, I only work with construction companies, but I work with whatever parts of construction there are. Commercial. I don't really do residential as much. I prefer the commercial.
Excellent. Wonderful. We will have links in the show notes so people can get in touch with you. And again, Kathe, thanks for coming on. And we'll look forward to the next episode. Hey, this is Eric. Hope you enjoyed my discussion with Kathe. Nice and short and to the point. Make sure you check out other episodes in this series with Kathe on the WHIP report, on underbillings, on indirect allocations and overhead. All links in the show notes. And I know you'll find a treasure trove of wisdom and insight that will help you in the way that you run your business. We'll catch you on the next episode. Oh, by the way, before I leave, give the show a rating and a review wherever you get your podcasts. And also share this episode and all of the episodes with Kathe. In fact, all of the Construction Genius episodes with people who you know would benefit from listening to this show. We'll catch you on the next one. Thank you for listening to this episode of Construction Genius. Hope you found that 1% of inspiration to help you in the next few days. If you like the show, please give us a 5-star review on iTunes, share it with other construction leaders who you think would benefit, and always remember that the show is brought to you by Kick-Ass Meetings. I've been working with construction leaders since 2004, teaching them how to run extremely effective problem-solving meetings that gets their people collaborating, taps into their creativity. And to get yourself a free copy of the Kick-Ass Meeting Report, go to www.ericanderton.com/kickassmeetings. Grab yourself that free report, read it, use it in your business. You'll find it extremely useful. And thanks again for listening.